I wanted to share. You were saying, yes, the Maya people, this was maybe just a couple of years ago, maybe 3, where I found out that a Mayan Ashki, a spiritual guide, he was burned at the stake for practicing his practices, for being, a shaman in the community. Somebody had come to him sick and they passed away and they blamed it on him. This was only a few years ago. This is, it's crazy and
we talk about the witch trials. It's still happening.
Exactly.
And it's it's the medicine person, it's the healer, it's the shaman, it's the mystic, it's people who are just connected to earth and allowing earth to heal you. They're not saying I'm healing you, they're letting earth heal you, but that's so against the system that's pharmaceutical, that's like, we know the answer and you don't, that they're trying to suppress it.
Yeah, exactly. And even within a lot of people, they'll try to suppress going into that knowledge, into the wisdom and traditions of their culture, right? There's a lot of integrated colonization within people and a lot of fear or just this desire to not even go there, right? It's so much easier to go into somebody else's spirituality. So it was so easy for me to go into yoga and not even think twice, right? But I definitely thought about it when I was going more into cacao. It would come up and I'd have to look at it like, why is all this stuff coming up around it? And why do I feel like also the unworthy piece are not good enough? Like, who am I to do this, right? The imposter syndrome comes up a lot because we get to work through that because our ancestors were not able to continue those beautiful ways. They lost, right, their traditions and their beautiful wisdom. So
yeah, my friend who was there, she in the Sacred Valley, she was sitting with her friend and they made this beautiful flower altar with roses. And this indigenous boy saw them. He's like, brujas, like witches, an indigenous boy. But that's what he was taught. He was taught to see someone sitting with an altar. She's an evil witch. Stay away. And that's the internalized racism and colonialism that they want these children to be afraid of the own magic that they have within themselves.
Oh, yeah. In Guatemala, you have evangelicals who they are just so hardcore. It's also based from Catholicism and they are not okay with the fire ceremony. With the only thing that they continue is to wear their traditional clothing, and they still speak the Mayan dialects. So it's wild to even see that they're continuing some of the things, but they will not continue working with, their gods, their deities, their practices. Definitely not the cacao in that way in ceremony.
It's crazy, and this is around the world. I remember I was in Fiji, and I really wanted to deeply connect with the Fijians. Cultural roots. And I was asking the people, what was it like? He was like, oh, we were barbaric, but thank God they came and they brought us Christianity and we found our way. That's what they told them. We had to save you because you were so barbaric. You guys were killing and eating each other. They put this storyline that all Fijians were cannibals. And I'm sure you've heard this before. It's, I don't know, even my mom said in Iran, she would hear, never go to Fiji because they're going to eat you. So it's like they take maybe one thing that ever happened and distorted it, like what actually happened. There was like a king that was fighting another king and
to delegitimize.
And like in like this one specific kind of crazy person like fought this other king and then I guess like ate a part of him as his like after he killed him. So that happened. But imagine if we all looked at what one of our presidents did and said, all Americans are that. Like, no, they are not. That guy was full of ego and greed to have done an act like that. But now to tell every Fijian for thousands of years, you were all cannibals until us white Christian saviors came and fixed you, is the ultimate self-loathing. But I don't know what's happening right now in Fiji. I'm sure there's a movement of it. I know in Latin America and Peru, there's a huge movement of coming back to the indigenous ways. I know in Peru and Bolivia, indigenous people are being put into positions of power. I know in the Amazon right now, there's a very big conflict because the Brazilian president is ruthless and burning down the Amazon and killing indigenous people. So indigenous people are rising and coming out of the Amazon to come together, like tribes coming together and saying, no, we will not have this. And people coming to their support and around the world, like in Iran, where my family's from, a lot of us Iranians are choosing to use the words prior to Arab because we were colonized by Arabs. That's where the alphabet, Islam, all these things come from. That's not our indigenous roots. We're actually, Persian is not Arab. It's different. Sort of like Spanish is not but we even say Latino. It's not Latin. It's not. We say Latin American. It's not Latin. Latin is in Europe. It's the same thing. We kind of group all Middle Eastern people. You're all Muslims. Actually, Persians, we never said salam. It was Durud bar shoma. We never had names like Muhammad and Ali. My own dad's name is Mahmoud. Like, we all have Muslim names. But actually, what our names were before were Cyrus, Cyrus, like Babak, like all these different names. So a lot of Persians are going back, and like, yes, colonization happened, and, but let's go back to who we were for thousands of years before that. And I feel like collectively, even in Stonehenge, European people going back to their pagan and historic roots.
Yes,
in Africa and Zimbabwe, I was seeing it happening of, hey, like, we might have been colonized and forced into Christianity, but we were not Christian before. We had the Ashanti kingdom and, the Ethiopian kingdoms and all these different things. So I feel like there's just this collective renaissance of all of our indigenous roots and seeing all of ourselves as indigenous to Earth, prior to this like mass grouping of people. And like, especially on the medicine, it showed me how these religions like want to take over, and like, again, I can say this because I grew up like a Muslim, but seeing the way like that in Islam, it's almost like you're kind of told to convert other people. Like, that is actually part of it. And it's very easy to convert into Islam. It's the fastest growing religion. And it's like, why would I think that you converting to my religion is going to save you or is better from you? Like, that is such, and I understand the roots of like where it came from back in the day, but to think that like, yesterday I was on the street going to the Apple store and it's like all these like, I don't know, Jehovah's Witness or something. And they're like giving me all these flyers. Jesus is going to save you. Jesus is going to save you. I'm like, I'm good, honey. And it's like, it's that consciousness. I think we can all see past it, and I feel like it's the end of it, and like, let's connect to our own intuition, earth, and guidance.
Yes, and we are all indigenous, right? And if we know that, right, we can't be controlled and told we're something else and placed into this box. When you know you're indigenous, you have those roots that are connected, and our ancient ancestors were once living so happy and healthy, and in harmony, living just in such a beautiful way in reciprocity and gratitude. We can take those beautiful lessons and continue them forward, move them forward.